Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Soulfax. Today we're playing WarThunder Ground Forces again. Now, the last video that I uploaded, the video that I so aptly named Learn to Play versus Russian Bias and Why Ground Forces Are Broken, sparked quite a lot of discussion on both the official forums and on the subreddit of this game. And I gotta say, some people liked it. The video, it got like 600 views and 7 or 10 up votes, thumbs ups, whatever, that doesn't matter. But a lot of people agree with me. A lot of people think that, yes, German ground forces are inherently made to be favoring Russians instead of Germans and Americans, which is, it's a thing that most people agree, that Germans are doing better, and Russians are doing better than Germans in ground forces. But some people took it a step further and said that it's only part of the problem, which I stated in the video. But that's only a small part of the problem. The main part of the problem is the thing that people like to call Russian bias. Now, for people who don't know what Russian bias is, what it encompasses and what it entails to, if that's even the right word, I will just make a short summation of what people think Russian bias is. So basically, Russian bias is the idea, the premise, that Russian tanks, especially this tank, T-34 and all of its variants in the game, are overperforming. That is basically the bottom line of it, but there are some facets in which the T-34 is overperforming, which I will break down very quickly here. So basically, firstly, the armor. A lot of German tanks have pioneered the sloping of the armor. As you can see, the T-34 is one of the first tanks that had a sloped frontal plate. Even though it's very effective, if you angle it around 30-degree angle, which gives you around 90% of the side and around 100% of the front, 190% on the front, that is still, in theory, should not be enough to stop a shell from the Panzer F2 or any of the Panzer IVs have the long 75mm gun. But in the game, in practice, you get a lot of bounces if you shoot at the front of the T-34, and a lot of people just choose to shoot at the turret. Secondly, the turret, or basically not turret, the gun. A person on the official forums has been able to dug out a datasheet from the game files, which indicates that Russian guns have more HE filler on them in post-penetration effects than they should have. In layman's term, Russian guns do more damage than they should, post-penetration effects. And that is not a contested fact, that is a fact that has been proven, that has been found in the game files, and there has been no response regarding that from the developers or from any of the PR people or the moderator on the forum. Just basically the whole Gaijin company decided to ignore the fact that people managed to dug out those files. So basically that is the premise of Russian bias. People think, and they think for a reason, that Russian tanks are overperforming, and basically this series will be an attempt to prove that fact, that Russian tanks are better than German tanks in this game, and that if a regular German tanker grabs a hold of a Russian tank, he will be able to do twice as better than he would be able to do in a German tank. So basically, before I start this video, I need to explain to you how will I be grading my success in Russian tanks in comparison to my German tanks. So basically there is the service record screen which shows you how many games you played, what is your victory percentage, how many times you respawned, how many times you died, how many grounds and air kills you have gotten in any certain tank in any certain game mode. So I will be focusing my quote-unquote research or experiment in both realistic and simulator battles. I will be playing simulator battles mostly, but if Russian tanks that I currently have are not in the simulator battle lineup, I will be going to realistic, because I don't want to wait a day to play my Russian tanks when this is supposed to be a multi-part video of a series of videos. Okay, so basically I will not go over my stats for the German tanks just now. Just know that, just look at the, no, I did wrong, no, most battles played, because that's basically what matters. As you can see, in my most battles played, my first few tanks don't have a positive win ratio. Basically, the Panther D really has a positive win ratio. How the hell is that possible? Oh, that's a Russian tank. Okay, going on to simulator battles, you will see a very similar things, even worse. Like the only tank here that has a positive win ratio is the Panzer F2, which is a syndrome from a few months past, where the Panzer F2 could actually penetrate a T-34 frontally instead of anywhere other than the turret. Now that is not so much a thing. So yeah, and as you could see, in most of those tanks that I have played the most in, I have a positive kill-death ratio. So I think that I calculated my kill-death ratio across all the tanks that I played the most, starting from tier 2 to tier 4, around 1.5 kills per death, which is, I would say, reasonable, because that's a lot of tanks, and some tanks I don't play as good in as in other tanks, and stuff like that. So let me just show you that I haven't played a lot of games in Russian tanks, only a few games and few tanks in simulator battle modes, and a little bit more in realistic battle mode, as you can see. The 2 games that I played in the T-34 both were victories, because why the hell not? I've gotten 1 death and I've gotten 8 freaking kills. Yes, I know, that's really a lot. I mean... oh, excuse me. But yeah, that's basically how I'm going to be grading my success in Russian tanks in comparison to my German tanks. I will be looking at both the win ratio, kill-death ratio, and I will be also looking at the silver lion gains and reputation gains. So reputation points, research points, excuse me. So that is basically how I'm going to be grading that. But okay, enough talk, let's get down to a replay here. This is, believe it or not, my second game that I've ever played in the T-34. Now this is a realistic battle match on the Eastern Europe map. Let me just show you very quickly here where the cap points are located. So I wanted to flank around the side and use the mobility in the T-34. I've played a few games since this, and to tell you the truth, I've never had this great of a matchmaker since that. This is a 2.7 battle rating game, and there is no long barrel Panzer IVs in the match, so there's very little for me to actually worry about. And when I checked the player sheet, excuse me, this thing, how is it called? Statistics, or whatever you want to call it, when I pressed tab, I was surprised to see that a lot of my team composed of T-50s, which meant that this is a low tier match, excuse me, a low battle rating match, and a good matchup for me. Okay, but yeah, I decided to flank around the side and use the speed of the T-34 like I said earlier, but the thing that really surprised me is how similar T-50 and the T-34 are. I mean, T-50 is kind of a prototype for the T-34 that never entered production, I think. I don't know exactly, but the T-50 is a very quick, very nimble light tank, and the T-34 plays very similar to it, although it accelerates a little bit slower and it doesn't have the greatest top speed. It can reach that top speed over, I believe, 25 seconds in a straight line on firm, nice, straight ground, but it's still a very fast tank. And the second thing that surprised me is the gun on this tank. And again, since this replay, I have played a few games with the T-34. This is a few days after I recorded the first part of the video because of some minor technical difficulties, but what really surprised me is that how the gun really has a lot of punch to it, even though it's only a, well, I wouldn't say, well, it is a short barrel 76 or maybe 75mm gun. I'm not really sure about that. Let me just check very quickly with the shells. Can I even check it like this? Does it say? I don't think it says here. I think it's a 75mm gun, but despite it being such a, I would say, a mediocre caliber, it has so much punch to it. It really cuts through everything, and when it cuts through armor, when it explodes, it does a lot of damage. But yeah, here we'll see my first kill here. I'm just gonna, I forgot to do this, get the markers off. One shot in the side of that Panzer IV. I think I disabled something from him. I mean, there's 3 tanks here, and I'm like, I want to shoot all of them, but I can't. But yeah, that's my first kill. I want to take a shot at the Panzer II, but I noticed in the battle report on the left side that he was actually killed by somebody else. Now, this is a great position for the T-34 because, like I said, the hull of the T-34 is very nicely sloped, and with the 45mm that is of its thickness, when you angle it, plus the sloping, you can reach up to some points at around 100mm of armor, and around, I believe, 60 or 70 at the lowest point. And these short barrel Panzer IVs, with their standard with their standard ammo, they have just around 60mm of penetration. So if they have not loaded in the heat shells, the post penetration shells, or the shells when you hit your enemy, they explode and then deliver their penetrating force. If they don't have them loaded, they're not going to be able to penetrate me, even if I'm not angled. But yeah, I'm still on the side of the map here, and now let's just, I don't want to talk so much about my experiences here, excuse me, this game here, because it's very straightforward. Nobody decided to flank on the right side across the river here. I'm completely alone here, even though I'm checking around constantly to see if anybody's flanking around me. But what I want to talk about is how the T-34 really outclasses most of the early Panzer IVs. It's really interesting to see that even in real life this happened. When Operation Barbarossa started in 1941, the Germans encountered the T-34s and KV-1s, and they were really baffled at what kind of amazing tanks the Russians managed to produce. And the reason why Russians managed to produce these amazing tanks in comparison to Panzer IVs, and in a better comparison would be to compare French tanks and Poland tanks and Czechoslovakian tanks to the T-34 and the Panzer IV. I believe the reason is because the Russians had a whole year, around a year and a half to actually prepare for the war, because it was kind of inevitable that Hitler would actually decide to attack Russia, even though it was his greatest mistake of the war. And one of the reasons the Germans lost the war was because Hitler was so engrossed in attacking Russia that they were ill-prepared. They didn't expect T-34s and KV-1s to come here. But there's another Panzer IV, and I think I actually hit the bar over there that you see on that pile of rubble, which was very unfortunate for me, but I think I'm gonna get in here with my second shot. Another thing that I like about the T-34s is how fast they reload. And they really do reload fast in comparison to Tier 3 tanks of German nation like the Tiger and the Panther. One thing that I never understood about the Panther is why it has such a long reload, despite it being only a 75mm gun. I mean, the reload is identical to the Tiger, which doesn't sound very accurate to me. Now, a Panzer II, don't get no shot off on him. But yeah, another Panzer IV, I think I'm gonna one-shot this guy, actually. Look at this. One shot through the front of the tank and he's dead. I mean, it's not easy against early Panzer IVs. Like I said earlier, I played a few games, well, I wouldn't say few, I played like 10 games after I'm recording this, and I haven't had this great matchmaking since then, and I haven't had this easy time since then. It's not all sunshine and rainbows with Russian tanks, but it's still, in my opinion and in my experience, limited experience that is, it is a lot easier to play Russian tanks than it is to play German tanks, mainly because of, I mean, 2 Panzer IVs can kill 2 T-34s, but 3 T-34s can easily kill 2 Panzer IVs, and without even losing one of their tanks, because in my experience, German guns usually do not one-hit Russian tanks, and Russian tanks can 1 or 2 hit German tanks on a regular basis, so it's a lot easier for Russian tanks to stay alive. But yeah, at this point of the match, we have lost almost half of our team here, and even though I thought, because I was doing well, which is a usual mistake that people do, when you do well in a match, you think that the rest of your team is doing well and that you're gonna win easily, but the fact is, and what happened in this match is that our team was not playing very well, so I decided to push up across the river here and try to see if I can get some enemies unaware here while they're changing shots with our other tanks here. And I get a Panzer IV here, one shot into him. I think I actually crippled some of his modules here, maybe his turret drive, I'm not very sure here, but a second shot is gonna take care of him very easily here. That's 6 kills in my first match, second match in the T-34. And I'm up till now, I'm really loving this tank. I played around 25 games since I recorded the first half of this video, and I gotta say I'm really loving the T-34. Its mobility, its armor. The only thing that I dislike is the fact that the guns have less penetration than the tanks that I'm used to playing, like the Panzer IVs and the Stuffs and the Stutz and the Panthers and the Tigers. They have a lot less penetration, but when they do penetrate, they deliver a lot of punch. Now we got a Stug A, I think. First shot goes into him. Unluckily for me, I just blow off his tracks, and he's aiming at me, but we got a, what's it called, a Stuart? Yes, Stuart. Second shot again goes into his tracks. Really unfortunate for me, because that would most likely been a kill shot, because he exposed his sides to us. But yeah, I only get a kill assist from this. But this is soon going to be the end of this replay. I played with other tanks in this match, but I'm not going to show you that because it really doesn't matter here. But the bottom line is my first experience with the T-34 was extremely positive here, even though I couldn't keep this really amazing kill to death ratio up for the next few matches, but still I think that the T-34 can easily compete with any Panzer force, and in my opinion, any T-34 is better than any Panzer IV with a short barrel. Easily better than any Panzer IV with a short barrel. Now we got a Panzer IV again here, put one shot into him, he decides to pull back, and the second, just aimed it just a little bit too low. I don't get the killing shot here. Excuse me. But this is going to be very quickly the end of my drive here in T-34. I advance out in the open. Oh, a Stag 4, not a Stag 4, excuse me, a Stug 3, I think, puts one shot into me. Unfortunately, he bounces, and it's really weird because I think he got the second ammo loaded because I saw something different in the shells. The second shot actually comes from my left and disables my turret. I move up here, park my tank against the wall. As you can see, I'm down 2 of my crew members. Two down of my crew members, and I'm still reloading my gun, but he keeps shooting me in the side armor, and there is not a lot he can do. I'm nicely angled to bounce his shots here. Now I pull up, I get to reload down, put a shot into him, and his transmission soaks up all that shrapnel, and I just get killed here. But yeah, that was basically my second game in the T-34, and I would say these were my first impressions of the T-34. Now, the second video in this series, I will cover the history of the T-34 in-game and both real-life history, and how they work, how you should play them, and I will show you some replays, and of course I will compare my stats between the T-34s and the Panzer IIIs and 4s on the German side. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. My name has been Soulfax. Stay tuned in the next few weeks for the continuation of this series, and I will see you then. Goodbye!